You know, life can get really difficult when you're in tough financial times. And even when there's no way out, bankruptcy and the myths associated with it scare many out of considering the legal alternative that was designed to help good people going through bad times get a fresh start.
So today, Our Lady of the Law, Kast, joins us to explain the myths about bankruptcy that may be preventing you or somebody you know from taking a step that could help you get back on track again. Andrea, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Really interesting information that you have, because I think a lot of these things that we've been talking about, the myths, like when I'm reading them, I'm like, yeah, aren't they true? So I think, you know, the big question I think our viewers have is, you know, how can it give them that fresh start without destroying their credit? Because that's what you just assume is going to happen.
Right. Well, you know, and the people that come in our office are really good people. They are down on their luck, tough economic times, loss of a job, divorce, medical bills, you know, push people into doing things that they would normally do. You know, they dip into their 401k to try to save their house, and, you know, they try to, you know, save their child by paying medical bills that, you know, when it comes to choosing between your child's life and, you know, not paying for this, you choose to pay it as opposed to any other bill you have.
Right.
So you have the bill stacking up, you don't have the income coming in sometimes to meet that, and you're forced to make a choice. When you come into our office, we have options for you, and people don't realize that bankruptcy can get you out of this huge amount of debt and let you go about your life with a fresh start at the end without these huge repercussions that people think happens to them. And, you know, that's why I wanted to talk about these 5 myths of bankruptcy, because people think bankruptcy is so bad, and it's really not.
So before we get into those 5 myths, though, do you have some examples of some folks who maybe should, you know, look at bankruptcy?
Well, sure. The parents with the sick children who have this huge medical bills. If you've lost a job and you're behind in your mortgage payments and you don't see an end in sight, you know, you have recently gone through a divorce and you've gone from a 2-income family to 1. You know, you still have the same amount of bills. You have half the income now. Those are times when bankruptcy could really help you.
So it doesn't have to be debt necessarily.
Well, debt results as from those situations. But, you know, it's the people that life happens to, you know. And so, you know, it's not bad people, it's good people.
Well, that's one of the myths. So let's look at the 5 myths.
Right. Well, the first myth is that you're not a bad person if you file bankruptcy. I mean, bad things happen to good people, and just because you file bankruptcy does not make you a bad person. The second myth is that if you file bankruptcy, your credit will be ruined forever. The third myth is that if you file bankruptcy, that we can't get rid of tax debts, which we can. And then, you know,
another one, if you file for bankruptcy, you're gonna lose everything. They're
right.
gonna come and take everything.
Exactly. And then you don't need an attorney to do this for you. You do. You absolutely do, because you don't want to lose things in a bankruptcy. You want to protect yourself. So an attorney can help you with that.
So you said that the myth number 1 was that it doesn't mean that you're a bad person, right? So let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
It doesn't mean you're a bad person, and you think people say that if they file bankruptcy, they think they're a bad person. So
right.
You're saying they're not.
Right. There used to be this stigma. If you file bankruptcy, you're a bad person. They used to have this thing called debtor's prison. We don't have that anymore. In fact, even the Bible speaks of canceling debt every 7 years, which was what the bankruptcy laws kind of seem to do, because the bankruptcy stays on your credit for 7 years and then goes away. So there's this idea that, and now especially with foreclosures, that's a huge reason why people are in our office filing bankruptcies, is foreclosure rates are rampant. That's why people file bankruptcy a lot. It's not because you're a bad person, it's because the banks have done these crazy things to people that have forced them into bankruptcy. Doesn't mean you're a bad person, it just means something horrible happened to you.
And then let's talk about credit, because that can be a #1 stressor.
Right.
People do not want to further damage their credit.
And the crazy thing is, I've had people in my office, just 2 weeks ago I had a guy in my office and I ran his credit report, and we had this bankruptcy software, and it projects your credit score a year out from filing bankruptcy, and his credit score increased 155 points. So 1 year after bankruptcy, his credit score actually would increase 155 points. We've seen it as high as 165 points, but, you know, it's because you're come out of bankruptcy with a fresh start, you're debt-free, you have nothing to pay back, so creditors are willing to lend to you again, and you're judged against other bankruptcy filers. You're not judged against people who have $900, $800 credit scores.
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
You're judged now against other bankruptcy filers. So, you know, you have a better shot at getting a loan.
So, but to get that credit score bump, do they have to lose everything they own?
No. In bankruptcy, most people don't lose anything they own. In fact, if you have a house or a car that you're paying on and you want to keep it, you can continue to pay on it through bankruptcy. If you have items that you want to keep, like a car that you own free and clear, we can exempt up to $1,000 the value of that in a bankruptcy action. We can also exempt personal property in a bankruptcy action up to $4,000 in most cases, depending on whether or not you have equity in your home. We can also exempt life insurance. We can exempt your homestead. We can exempt the cash value of a life insurance policy. So there are a lot of things that we can protect. And that leads us to the fourth myth, why you need an attorney. You need to know what you can protect in a bankruptcy. And so, you don't want to go into a bankruptcy without an attorney and run the risk of not being, checking the box to exempt these things in your bankruptcy petition and run the risk of losing them. You don't want to lose that house or car if you don't have to.
Right.
And an attorney will protect those for you.
And before we wrap, also back taxes.
Right.
That's another myth.
Right. If your taxes are 3 years old, you can most likely discharge them in a bankruptcy. We've gotten rid of hundreds of thousands of dollars in back taxes for people. And anything newer than 3 years, we can typically mitigate the damages and at least get the penalties and interest, keep them from accruing and get a payment plan worked out for them that's, feasible. So, the back taxes can be worked out through a bankruptcy.
Lots of really interesting
I know.
information.
I learned a lot.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
I didn't know half of that stuff. Well, Andrea, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And we want to thank Lady of the Law, Andrea Kast, for the advice, and thanks to Emery, Kast, and Walker for sponsoring this important segment.
Yes, we do. And remember, the biggest mistake you can make when facing financial hardship is really to do nothing at all. The legal team of Emery, Kast, and Walker understands what you're going through, and they're there to help good people in bad times. Just visit their website at www.jackslawyer.com or call them at 904-404-3394 for a free consultation to find solutions to your problems. They've got offices in Jacksonville and St. Augustine.